Everyone, welcome. If you would like, you can come closer, because as the moments come, it'll fill up. We'll sing Radha Madhava, and then we'll have a talk on Krishna consciousness. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jai Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hey Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari O Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari O Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari O Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Hey Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari O Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Hey Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. O Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Hey Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. O Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Hey Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachare. Jamuna Tira Vanachare. Jai Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jai Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Radha Kala Chanji Radha Kala Chanji Radhe. Jaya Radha Kala Chanji Radha Kala Chanji Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe. Nitai Gaur Sitana Premanande. Say something? Thank you all again for coming. Very honored to be in your association. So, festival season is coming, right? Raseshri, what festival's coming up next? You don't have to listen to them. Huh? Balaram Jayanti. Thank you. Janmastami too, but before that, just next week will be the appearance of Lord Balaram. So many of us here are from India, and Janmastami is super celebrated amongst all people of India. All faiths even participate. It is one of the most holy and festive times. But also an intricate understanding of Krishna is his expansions. And Balaram Purnima is coming up on Monday, not tomorrow, a week from tomorrow. So Mother Manjwali, one of our senior devotees here, asked me if I could speak on Balaram Jayanti, Balaram Purnima. So I would just like to say also that in the world today and always, there's so much chaos, so much violence, so much anxiety, right? If we look at the news, why look at the news? If we look at our hearts, we look at our own little families, our own communities, there's suffering and anxiety from moment to moment. Although all of us are seeking relief and pleasure that goes beyond the pains of birth, death, old age, disease, These things are always on our back, so to speak, if we're not experiencing it. And in the moment, all those four miseries, where there's fear that they're just around the corner. So Krishna consciousness, this temple, devotees, chanting, devotional service, the books, the philosophy is the escape, is the reality actually. Anxiety and suffering is not the reality. It's dukkhalayam ashashvatam. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, it is miserable. The material energy is dukkhalayam, but it's temporary. So this is great news. Whereas the reality is Satchit Ananda, that the soul, who we really are, is already blissful, already conscious eternally of that blissful experience. And Krishna consciousness is just reviving it, reawakening it, waking up to reality. So festivals, right? Holy days, those are like windows to the spiritual world where extra mercy comes pouring into our lives. And it's up to us how much we want to hold on. Sometimes they say, with Krishna's unlimited mercy and unlimited desire to inundate all of us with mercy, with his unlimited arms, what can we hold with our two arms? So these festival days are opportunities for us to dive deep, go deeper into what it is to be Satchidananda, what it is to be a servant of Krishna, what it is to feel Krishna's loving reciprocation. So now is like the festival season begins with Balaram Jayanti. Just like we know in the appearance of Lord Krishna, how many of you can I have a raise of hands who's read the full Krishna book? This is really a special boon by our founder, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. He's given us these treasure houses of spiritual wisdom. Krishna book is like the condensed form of the 10th canto of Krishna's appearance and Krishna's activities 5,000 years ago. So a lot of us are busy in life. We don't have time to read so much. But actually, it'll do us so much good if we take just tiny bits of time. Even there's one devotee who's put out an app called Sage Page by Page. And it shows you how you can finish the whole Srimad Bhagavatam, which is 12 cantos, like we see in these bookshelves here. How many days it'll take to finish the Srimad Bhagavatam, how many days it'll take to finish the Bhagavad Gita, how many days it'll take to read the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this is what Prabhupada lived for. Our founder lived for giving Krishna to others. What is lacking? His guru said that the only thing lacking in the material world, we may come up with so many ideas, right? Political, economic ideas that what's needed, right? We all conjure up our different ideas of what the world needs. But according to the guru of our guru, grandfather guru, the only thing lacking is Krishna consciousness. And how do we become Krishna conscious? One of the main ways is to read about him. Bhagavad Gita is words by Krishna himself. Krishna's singing Bhagavad Gita, right? That's what it means, the song of God. And the Srimad Bhagavatam is words about Krishna by his devotees, or the lives of those who have dedicated their energy to Krishna and how they prevailed and gloriously, were devotional in all kinds of circumstances. So whoever hasn't read some of these books, please get them if you don't have them. And if you already have them, please make a plan. We read them here every evening. We have Bhagavad Gita class. You can read them with your family. You can also check it out, modern times. You can just go on Google and listen while you're cooking, while you're working, while you're driving. Listen to the spiritual sound vibration of Bhagavad Gita, of Bhagavatam, of classes. There's classes by His Divine Grace. Hundreds of thousands of classes you can go and listen to. And then that fills the mind with spiritual topics for contemplation rather than just going, what I always like to say, on the the Ferris wheel. What is that thing called? The hamster wheel of the mental. Usually there's a few things on that thing. Shastrically, it's eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. We maybe in different varieties according to our cultural background, but we just go over those things. We think it's I've broke through on my thought. I've expanded. If you look at it, it's just a permutation of those things, which is animal consciousness. To just think how to get food, how to eat, how to sleep, those things. That'll never satisfy the human spirit. We're seeking the essence of life. We're seeking deeper satisfaction. And these books that Prabhupada has translated from Sanskrit and Bengali give us the key to freedom of the soul, to its ultimate satisfaction in unconditional loving service to Radha Kalachandji, Radha Govinda. So we'll talk about Lord Balaram. How many of you don't know who Lord Balaram is? Let's say a show of hands. Who can be honest? I don't know either. I just know theoretically from reading the books. But so, how many of you don't know who Krishna is? Okay. So, according to the Vedic scriptures, God is one. God is the source of all material and spiritual energies. God has unlimited names. God has unlimited qualities. But this sound vibration, this name Krishna, is spiritually surcharged with all the qualities of the absolute truth. Krishna, there's another Sanskrit phrase that says, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachidananda Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam, that Krishna is the supreme controller. Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachit Ananda Vigraha, that He has a form. Just like sometimes when we contemplate spirituality, we think, oh, spiritual must be the opposite of material. So there must be no variety, there must be no form, there must be no personality. But this is just our mind coming up with its speculation and thinking, okay, if material things have forms, have qualities, then spiritual, which is the opposite of material, must not have these things. But that's also relative. It's the opposite, so it's still related to what the material is. Whereas spiritual energy is the absolute. It's not relying on anything material. And the people who have realized knowledge, the great souls like our founder Acharya, have revealed that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and that He has a spiritual form, Ishvara Parama Krishna Sachit Ananda Vigraha, that His form is full of eternity, knowledge, and bliss, Sarva Karana Karana, that He is the cause of all causes. And so, although we're monotheistic, Krishna expands Himself to enjoy with His unlimited servants, all of us. There's Swamsha and Vibhinamsha. So there's the supreme personality of Godhead, and we're qualitatively one with the supreme and eternally related. Mame Vamsha, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Mame Vamsha Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana Manashashtan Indriyani Prakritishtani Karshati, that Mam Evamsha Jiva Loke, that all the jivas, all of us conscious souls are Krishna's parts and parcels, eternally. It's not like in Judeo-Christian theology where, God created the living entities. In one sense, you can say like that. We come from God, but in another sense, we are eternally parts of God. There was never a time when we did not exist. There was never a time when Krishna did not exist. We have an eternal, loving, devotional relationship. We're part of the absolute truth. And in that ever increasing desire to reciprocate love, Krishna expands himself. And his first expansion is Balaram, Baladev, Sankarshana, different names. There's unlimited names for the unlimited Lord also. So Balaram, one meaning is spiritual strength. And Krishna expanded to Balaram. So they say that one way to look at it is like, although Balaram is eternal and Krishna is eternal, still Krishna is like the first candle that lights all the other candles. That's the way they explain it in terms of the expansions of the Lord. Krishna has unlimited expansions, and there's unlimited souls that serve the unlimited forms of the Lord. Some people may be attracted to Lord Ramachandra, right? That's another expansion. Is non-different. It's the same one person, but expanded in order to increase loving reciprocation with his devotees. There's Vishnu. Vishnu also is an expansion of Krishna. And Balaram, Baladev, is the first expansion of Krishna, who's appeared, so to speak, in the material world, astrologically, a week from tomorrow. So it'll be a full moon. You can do something special. If you can't make it to the temple, we'll have a festival here. But if you can't make it, do something nice at home. You can gather with your family, read Krishna book, read about Lord Balaram, invite friends over, have a special kirtan, just like we do. Come together and chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, when Krishna expands to Balaram, Balaram expands again into... How many of you have heard of the creation pastime according to the Vedas? Raise of hands, creation. So, it's explained that Balaram expands into a form called Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu lies down in the causal ocean. It's explained that the spiritual world has unlimited planets. And it's explained that the spiritual reality is 3/4 of the reality, whereas the material cosmos, which is so expansive that we can't even grasp it, basically, even just this one universe, is explained that it's just 1/4 of the expansion of total creation, so to speak, or total reality. And in one section of that spiritual sky, Mahavishnu lies down in an ocean and exhales just one breath. Unlimited universes are coming out of his pores. It's explained just like maybe you've seen in the summertime or any time when light comes through a screen, then the little particles of dust, you can see sun rays coming through the light of a screen. So this unlimited expansion of the Lord, named Mahavishnu, lying down, and in one exhalation, unlimited universes come out of his pores. And then he expands himself again in one of those universes, in all of those universes, and fills up. Each universe is like an egg, or it's a Brahmanda. It's filled up half with water, and that expansion called Garbhodakshay Vishnu lies on that ocean on top of Ananta Shesh, an unlimited hooded snake that is like a couch for that four-armed form of Vishnu. And in half of that egg-like universe is water, and the other half, the universe has come as a lotus flower comes from the belly button of that gigantic four-armed form of Vishnu. And then he expands again as Kshirodakshai Vishnu. Within that universe, there's an ocean of milk. And on that milk ocean, he lies down again on a form of Shesha, and also enters into the hearts of every living entity and in every atom and in between every atom. So, a little far out, maybe just a little. So this is the expansions of the Lord, and Balaram it's his personality expanding to serve the Lord. It's actually explained that Ekale Eshwara Krishna Arasabhya Britya, that Krishna is the supreme controller and everyone else is his servant. Even the other expansions of Krishna, like Balaram, they find immense satisfaction in serving the form of Krishna. Even though they are the same, in one sense, they are the same Krishna, the same personality of Godhead, the source of all the cosmos, all the material and spiritual energies. But this is one of the points I wanted to get to, that Balaram, one of the names of Balaram is Adi Guru, or anybody have any Adidas clothing? This was named after Lord Balaram. It's actually Adidas. He's the original servant in the sense he finds so much pleasure in serving Krishna. And I'll read this verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita that says, "What to speak of others? Even Lord Baladev, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is full of emotions like pure friendship and paternal love." So these are different service moods. So I'll read this nice purport. So although Lord Baladev appeared before the birth of Lord Krishna, and is therefore Krishna's worshipable elder brother, he used to act as Krishna's eternal servitor. In the spiritual sky, all the Vaikuntha planets are predominated by the quadruple expansions of Krishna, known as the Chaturvyuha. They are direct expansions from Baladev. It is the singularity of the Supreme Lord that everyone in the spiritual sky thinks himself a servitor of the Lord. According to social convention, one may be superior to Krishna, but factually everyone engages in his service. Therefore, in the spiritual sky or the material sky and all the different planets, no one is able to supersede Lord Krishna or demand service from him. On the contrary, everyone engages in the service of Lord Krishna. As such, the more a person engages in the service of the Lord, the more he is important. And conversely, the more one is bereft of the transcendental service of Krishna, the more he invites the bad fortune of material contamination. In the material world, although materialists want to become one with God or compete with God, everyone directly or indirectly engages in the service of the Lord. The more one is forgetful of the service of Krishna, the more he is considered to be dying. Let me see. Therefore, when one develops pure Krishna consciousness, he immediately develops his eternal servitorship to Krishna. And the next verse, he also considers himself a servant of Lord Krishna. Indeed, who is there who does not have this conception of being the servant of Lord Krishna? So I just found this so thought-provoking and deep that even Balaram, who's non-different from Krishna, who's God, and Krishna's first expansion, is surcharged with this service spirit and enjoys so much. That's the name Balarama. Also, Rama means pleasure. Bala is spiritual strength. So this is also the situation of every living entity, that we're all serving our families, our bosses, our societies, and whatnot. But it's not evoking that satisfaction and pleasure that we're longing for. And this is the turning point when we see that we're eternally connected through loving devotional service to Krishna. Then that service satisfaction is amplified. And we live life with a thrill. Prabhupada says in one of the purports that a devotee lives life with a thrill. You know, at every moment he finds newer and newer tastes. It's not hackneyed or static, but it's ecstatic, right? So Krishna consciousness service is there even in the expansions of the Lord. So much so that the topmost servant of Krishna is Radharani, right? Her name itself is Aradhana. Radha means the best worshipper, the one who pleases Krishna the most. And she enjoys the most. This Mahabhav, only she experiences. And Krishna's fascinated, although Krishna is the cause of all causes and the topmost. Even that said he's the reservoir of all pleasure. Rasa Raj, the king of all pleasurable enjoyments, the king of loving exchanges. Still, when he sees Radharani's love for him and he sees what she feels in serving him, he's fascinated. Well, I want to taste that. So that's one in this book called the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It was written around 500 years ago. It's a whole explanation of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna in the mood of Radharani, or the combined form of Radha and Krishna. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahe Anya. That Krishna, wanting to see what it is that Radharani experiences, what is it that bliss that she experiences in serving me. So he comes as Gauranga. Gauranga! Because Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. That this Gaurangi, that Radharani is golden, like molten, like if you melt gold. Gold is already lustrous and very attractive, but if it's, I guess if it's when it's being melted, it's more brilliant. So Gauranga Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya, came in the complexion of Radharani because he is Krishna in the mood of Radharani. And why? To see what is it like to be a lover of Krishna. What is it like to be steeped in the service spirit, this Sevananda, this Ananda of service. Just like Baladev. Baladev has such an intense desire to please and serve Krishna that he becomes everything. Literally. Everything in existence is Baladev's expansion. That's what I was telling you about, how the creation came about. So then when all those universes were coming out of the expansion of Balaram, then one of the expansions glances at the material energy and impregnates the universes with living entities. It's coming from Baladev. Why? To serve, so that they can have a facility to serve Krishna. And then he becomes everything of the material. He expands earth, water, fire, air, ether. All the energies of creation are coming from him. Why? As a way to facilitate the living entities, all of our service, to Krishna. And the spiritual reality, Balaram becomes the spiritual world, although it's eternal. Balaram is when all the paraphernalia for serving the deity, the clothing, the flute, Krishna's shoes, the bed, everything in connection to service to Radha Kalachandji is an expansion of Baladev, Balaram. Why? Because he's steeped in this service spirit. And Lord Chaitanya is steeped in this service spirit. And all of us, Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas, we're the eternal servants of Krishna. But forgetting that loving service we are trying to enjoy separately through our bodies in different ways, through our, exploits in material energy. And the consequence is dull brain, dull, no rasa, no juice, no inner satisfaction. But what is that turning point? Is that for millions of years, Brahmanda Brahmite Kon Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prashade Pai Bhakti Lata Beach, that those living entities that are fortunate, they may be wandering through so many Brahmandas, unlimited universes, but those that are fortunate, they get the association of a guru. By Krishna's grace, Krishna gives us the association of a guru, and by Guru's grace, they give us Krishna, or they plant the Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed of devotion within the heart. And how do you water that seed? Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Shmaranam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakyamatma Nivedanam. Shravanam Kirtanam is the watering of that seed of devotion, like what we're doing now. We're hearing about Balaram. We're hearing about service to Krishna. So this is watering the Bhakti Lata Bij, the seed of devotion that's in the heart. And it said, Lord Chaitanya said, become a gardener of this creeper of devotion and water it through hearing and chanting. And this hearing and chanting goes on eternally. We're doing it now in this state, in this temple. And when we reach perfection, the same things will be going on. We'll be chanting, we'll be singing, we'll be dancing. But the emotional sevananda, the spiritual ecstasy, the body can't contain. Just like in all traditions, they talk about saints going unconscious and crying and different things, hairs standing on end and whatnot, when they pray and when they hear about the Lord. Because the body itself, it can't contain the pleasure that the soul has in hearing, in serving Krishna. So I'd like to read this, like I was telling you, that these books are like treasure houses. I'd like to read one section about Lord Balaram. You'll see, if you get the Krishna book, there's a lot of places where Balaram has his pastimes. It's a good thing to read before going to sleep. It's a good thing to read anytime, but it's nice to read before going to sleep, and then hopefully it'll enter our dreams. Spiritual leelas. And whoever remembers the exact pastime, I'm going to give him $150. I just got this bookmark, Prabhupada, $150. See, Raseshri? 150 Prabhupada dollars. Okay, so please listen with attention. It's just like 3 pages. And it's called Killing the Demon Pralambasura. And then we can have some discussion. Please feel free to reveal your mind about spirituality or philosophy. Okay, listen up. After extinguishing the devastating fire, Krishna, surrounded by his relatives, friends, cows, calves, and bulls, and glorified by their singing, again entered Vrindavan, which is always full of cows. While Krishna and Balaram were enjoying life in Vrindavan, in the midst of the cowherd boys and girls, the season gradually changed to summer. The summer season in India is not very much welcomed because of the excessive heat. But in Vrindavan, everyone was pleased because summer there appeared just like spring. This was possible only because Lord Krishna and Balaram, who are the controllers even of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, were residing there. In Vrindavan there are many falls which are always pouring water, and the sound is so sweet that it covers the sounds of the crickets. And because water flows all over, the forest always looks very green and beautiful. The inhabitants of Vrindavan were never disturbed by the scorching heat of the sun or the high summer temperatures. The lakes of Vrindavan are surrounded by green grasses, and various kinds of lotus flowers bloom there, such as the Kalhara, Kanjotpala. Anyone ever seen one of those? And the air blowing in Vrindavan carries the aromatic pollen of all those lotus flowers. When the particles of water from the waves of the Jamuna, the lakes and the waterfalls touched the bodies of the inhabitants of Vrindavan, they automatically felt a cooling effect. Therefore they were practically undisturbed by the summer season. Vrindavan is such a nice place. Flowers are always blooming, and there are even various kinds of decorated deer. Birds are chirping, peacocks are crowing and dancing, and bees are humming. The cuckoos there sing nicely in 5 kinds of tunes. Krishna, the reservoir of pleasure, blowing his flute, accompanied by his elder brother Balaram and other cowherd boys and cows, entered the beautiful forest of Vrindavan to enjoy the atmosphere. They walked into the midst of newly grown leaves of trees whose flowers resembled peacock feathers. They were garlanded by those flowers and decorated with saffron chalk. Sometimes they were dancing and singing, and sometimes wrestling with one another. While Krishna danced, some of the cowherd boys sang, and others played on flutes. Some bugled on buffalo horns or clapped their hands, praising Krishna. "Dear brother, you are dancing very nicely." Actually, all these boys were demigods descended from higher planets to assist Krishna in his pastimes. The demigods, garbed in the dress of the cowherd boys, were encouraging Krishna in his dancing, just as one artist encourages another with praise. Up to that time, neither Balaram nor Krishna had undergone the hair-cutting ceremony. Therefore, their hair was clustered like crow's feathers. They were always playing hide-and-seek with their boyfriends, or jumping or fighting with one another. Sometimes, while his friends were chanting and dancing, Krishna would praise them. "My dear friends, you are dancing and singing very nicely." The boys played at catching ball with bell-shaped fruits and round amalaki. They played blind man's bluff, challenging and touching one another. Sometimes they imitated the forest deer and various kinds of birds. They joked with one another by imitating croaking frogs, and they enjoyed swinging underneath the trees. Sometimes they would play like a king and his subjects amongst themselves. In this way, Balaram and Krishna, along with all their friends, played all kinds of sports and enjoyed the soothing atmosphere of Vrindavan, full of rivers, lakes, rivulets, fine trees, and excellent fruits and flowers. Once, while they were engaged in their transcendental pastimes, a great demon of the name Pralambasura entered their company, desiring to kidnap both Balaram and Krishna. Although Krishna was playing the part of a cowherd boy, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he could understand everything, past, present, and future. So when Pralambasura entered their company, Krishna began to think how to kill the demon, but externally he received him as a friend. "Oh, my dear friend," he said, "it is very good that you have come to take part in our pastimes." Krishna then called all his friends and ordered them, "Now we shall play in pairs. We shall challenge one another in pairs." With this proposal, all the boys assembled together. Some of them took the side of Krishna, and some of them took the side of Balaram, and they arranged to play in duel. The defeated members in duel fighting had to carry the victorious members on their backs. They began playing and at the same time tending the cows as they proceeded through the Bandiravan forest. The party of Balaram, accompanied by Sri Dama and Vrishabha, came out victorious, and Krishna's party had to carry them on their backs through the Bandiravan forest. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, being defeated, had to carry Sri Dama on his back, and Bhadrasena carried Vrishabha. Imitating their play, Pralambasura, who appeared there as a cowherd boy, carried Balaram on his back. Pralambasura was the greatest of the demons, and he had calculated that Krishna was the most powerful of the cowherd boys. In order to avoid the company of Krishna, Pralambasura carried Balaram far away. The demon was undoubtedly very strong and powerful, but he was carrying Balaram, who was compared with a mountain. Therefore he began to feel the burden, and thus he assumed his real form. When he appeared in his real feature, he was decorated with a golden helmet and earrings and looked just like a cloud, with lightning carrying the moon. Balaram observed the demon's body expanding up to the limits of the clouds, his eyes dazzling like blazing fire and his mouth flashing with sharpened teeth. At first, Balaram was surprised by the demon's appearance, and he began to wonder, how is it that all of a sudden this carrier has changed in every way? But with a clear mind, he could quickly understand that he was being carried away from his friends by a demon who intended to kill him. Immediately he struck the head of the demon with his strong fist, just as the king of the heavenly planet strikes a mountain with his thunderbolt. Being stricken by the fist of Balaram, the demon fell down dead, just like a snake with a smashed hood, and blood poured from his mouth. When the demon fell, he made a tremendous sound, and it sounded as if a great hill were falling upon being struck by the thunderbolt of King Indra. All the boys then rushed to the spot. Being astonished by the ghastly scene, they began to praise Balaram with the words, "Well done, well done." All of them then began to embrace Balaram with great affection, thinking that he had returned from death, and they offered their blessings and congratulations. All the demigods and the heavenly planets became very satisfied and showered flowers on the transcendental body of Balaram. And they also offered their blessings and congratulations for his having killed the great demon, Pralambasura. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 18th chapter of Krishna, killing the demon Pralambasura. Lord Balaram ki, Balaram Purnima ki, Krishna Janmastami ki, Radhastami ki, Kartik ki, Gaur Premanande. Kirtan 50, yeah. So yeah, we're starting the festival. Every day is a festival in Krishna consciousness. And we start, whoever is interested, 4:30 in the morning. We have a festival every day where we sing and dance for the pleasure of Radha Kalachandji, all the way till 8:30. We do a little kirtan, then Tulsi Puja, Japa session, Srimad Bhagavatam class, a Guru Puja. So are there any thoughts, questions related to the class, or in your something about you're curious about in your own? Think over here.
So thank you so much for a very beautiful class. Regarding Lord Balaram, is the reason that we don't hear about him as much as we hear about Lord Krishna because Lord Balaram himself prefers to hear about Krishna, or because we hear more about Lord Shri Krishna than we do about Lord Balaram? So I'm just kind of curious about that. Thank you.
Well, if you read Krishna book, he's in there a lot too. But yeah, that might be true, like we were saying, that Balaram derives so much pleasure from serving Krishna that he wants to see Krishna in the center also. So I think you're right, Mother Kunti. Anybody else would like to ask or share a reflection? Something? Mother,
that was not the plan, but Krishna is always making arrangements that we never anticipate. So thank you for allowing me to grow even more in love with Baladev. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for sharing. She gives beautiful talks. If anybody look it up on the archives of Radha Kalachandji, Antaryami. She gives beautiful Krishna conscious presentations. And she makes us love Krishna more and more.
Why does Lord Balaram favor Duryodhana?
That, why does Lord Balaram favor Duryodhana? I have no idea. I think, just like Krishna, so many things, Balaram wanted the opposite, right? In the battle of Kurukshetra, he wanted to fight, but he wasn't allowed, so he just went on pilgrimage. So I think it's just like very intricate, like we were saying, that God is one. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has many unlimited facets to his divine personality. So why is God, what color is God? Who can say? Why is Krishna, his skin blue? Why does he do what he does? In general, we can say everything Krishna does, is like Mother Antaryami says, is to increase the love of his devotees. Why does Krishna play the flute? Wasn't he play the sitar? I mean, he can play anything, but what is his main choice is to play the flute. He is the supreme autocrat. They say he does whatever he wants, but in general we say whatever he does, it's to increase the love of his devotees. So that dynamic of why Balaram favored Duryodhana, it was just to enhance the spiciness of the pastimes. I'm not so expert in Mahabharata. I've not read it on my own. I heard it when my wife read it out loud to our family. And yeah, I don't have any insight. Anybody else want to add to the discussion? But in general, the Lord and the Lord's expansions, everything they do increases the love of the devotees, increases the desire of the souls wanting to serve. Anybody else like to say something? So, thank you for your kind attention, and now we will have announcements about the upcoming events at our temple. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.